Hello everyone and welcome to another one of our live Q&As, and I am absolutely thrilled this morning to be joined by Jade. Good morning, Jade.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Now, Jade, you've got a wonderful story and a very interesting passion and lots of fabulous stuff. So tell us a bit about yourself then, Jade. Introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, I'm Jade, and I'm about to publish a inclusive storybook to raise funds for the RDA. It's based on my previous horse, Odin, who's passed away now. I had him for about 16 years, and he was the love of my life. And the story I thought would spread a bit of joy in quite a grim time during lockdown, and also maybe inspire some little readers to realise that they can do things even if they face challenges. In the story, the little girl is called Molly, and she's challenged by physical disability, and she longs to roller skate with her friends and do everything that everyone else does, but she can't. And then she's introduced to Odin. He is in a herd, and he longs to be a pony club pony like all of the other horses, but he's just doing riding lessons and dreams of going to Olympia. And together they find fun and self-acceptance. And I thought it would be a good way to raise funds for the RDA, who have been helping me with my new horse, Rosie, who I've had since May. I'm a disabled rider, and it's been a challenge, but I still love it. So,
Wow, what a gorgeous, gorgeous story. And I bet there are so many little girls out there that don't know they need to read that story, that they're challenged by something, it could be anything, and a story of real courage and of positivity and some great messages in there. So tell us a little bit about Odin and your 16 beautiful years.
he's
With him.
amazing. I mean, I got him from a lady. She now lives in Devon. She'd had him for many years. I got him when he was 22. So he's a fairly elderly chap then, but he just had the most beautiful disposition. I could have ridden him through Bristol. He was that calm. He never batted an eyelid at anything, and he taught me to canter. And he was just beautiful, a beautiful soul. And we were absolutely best friends. Um, and I thought, I'll never ever find another horse on, that's it for me. I won't ride again. And then I went for a couple of lessons and got the bug again. And I had some lessons in a place local to me, at another school. And sadly, that went a little bit wrong. I fell off and they asked me to leave. And I was sort of marched out and absolutely devastated. And it's only when I found the livery yard near my house where Rosie is, that they said, that's not on. You have a right to ride the same as anybody else does. That's discrimination. And it's thanks to them, actually, hello Woodville, that I'm still riding. And they found Rosie for me so that I could continue to ride.
Wow, that's incredible. And so you must be someone who's got a lot of passion, a lot of drive, a lot of tenacity. Tell us a little bit about how you developed that.
Um, I suppose I've sort of had to be fairly determined to just get on with things, but then everybody does. Everyone has their own challenges. It's just, yeah, part of my mindset. Some days, things are hard, and then you just sort of get on with things. But I suppose I've changed in that pre-lockdown. I wrote the story about Odin, oh gosh, many years ago, about 8 years ago, and I thought, that's a silly idea. I'm not a writer. Um, and then sort of the combination of what happened with moving to Woodville and then lockdown, I don't know, somehow it made me a bit gung-ho, and I thought, do you know what, I'll just give it a go. I'm not claiming, to be an amazing author, but I think Odin was so fabulous. He would make a lovely story and spread a bit of joy, and I just decided to do it. And then as I was sort of developing that, I thought, right, what else could I do to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone and help support the book? So I started my Off the Lead Rein podcast, and I decided I wanted to chat to other inspiring equestrians and small businesses, in addition to the ones I'd already spoken to in the Small and Supercharged group. I thought, right, I'll just set it up. So I did. And again, it was totally outside of my comfort zone, but it's been fabulous. I've spoken with Natasha Baker. I've spoken with Tara Punter around mindset, all sorts of people, some smaller brands, and it's been really so fascinating. And also part of the reason I did it all was, because of the story, But if I'm honest, it was also to keep myself in the saddle when I was so nervous when I first got Rosie. On the days when I thought, I want to give up, this is too scary, I thought, but I've recorded all of these podcasts now, I can't publish those talking about, how riding benefits your life, and then say, but I gave up because I was too scared. So I was sort of so wanted to do it and had to find ways of keeping myself trying. And it's working so far, but I'm still a very nervous rider, and I think I always will be, of a nervous disposition, really. But yeah,
and that's what we call accountability, isn't it? It's putting something out there that means you have to then do it. Like, it's saying a goal out loud, it's making it public, and you made it really public. You created a podcast. We did an episode that was great fun. Can't wait for that one to come out, because I forgot what I even said now. But when you put something out there, when you make it public, even when you just say it to someone, you say, I'm going to do this thing. And especially if it's the type of person that will say, when you're doing that, then you said you were, come on. That accountability, what does that do for you from a motivation perspective?
Well, I mean, you can't back out, can you? You've got to keep going. And even though, the first podcast I did, it was a bit nerve-wracking, to be honest, but you had to sort of work through it, because I knew I'd recorded at least 8 at that stage, so they had to come out. And now I'm absolutely fine, doing it. I'm used to doing it, and I really enjoy it. It's been great to chat to some really fascinating people. I did one recently on the role of the native pony in sustainable land management, which was really interesting. And again, this live, if I'm honest, I feel quite uncomfortable because I'm not used to doing it, but I'm just pretending nobody's watching.
You're doing an absolutely perfect job. We're just having a chat. That's all it is. Just you and I. There is no one else. So tell us about your tenacity and your strength, and being able to overcome the obstacles. This is something that you've probably developed over the years. This wouldn't have suddenly come out in lockdown. Yes, you'd have had some motivation. Yes, you'll have had some accountability, but you wouldn't have even put yourself out for that accountability if you didn't have that fire in your belly behind you. So tell us, where's your fire in your belly come from? What's it all about?
I suppose it is part of my personality, because I've had to, for anything sort of fairly physical, it's maybe been a little bit harder. Like with riding, I had many years as a child where I didn't ride because I'd had a couple of accidents and I was frightened, but the want for it was always there. I'd watch it, but then I couldn't watch, at Dorset Show or whatever, because I really wanted it, but I couldn't kind of bring myself to do it at that stage. But if the want's always there, it sort of nags away at you until you do something about it. It's a bit like if you're sitting in a job that you're kind of trundling along in, but you're not that happy with. In the end, you'll get to a point where you do change it. And I think with the book and the podcast and the bits and pieces I've done, I was always sort of very much I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. That would be great. And then in the end, you think, well, I'm tired of always wishing and sort of not doing anything about it. So something in you will find a way to sort of, take you down that path of trying it.
Gorgeous. And I said today that you were going to talk about from wishing to doing, because it's a phrase that you gave me. I think it was wishing to doing, wasn't it? That was the phrase.
Yeah.
And I think that beautifully shows that you do live that. You don't just talk about, don't just wish it, do it. And hence why, my strapline is dream it, do it, love it. Because don't just dream it, do it, do it, make sure you love it. It's those 3 elements. So tell us a little bit about your journey with Odin. I want to know more about him. He sounds gorgeous. What did you guys get up to?
He was amazing. I mean, I got him from Jenny. She had bought him when she had lost a bit of confidence after a fall, and she said to me, oh, you won't need a lead rein, because I took obviously Dad with me when I went to sort of have a ride on him, and instantly I was like, take the lead rein off, we don't need it. He was so quiet. And I would go off for sort of 4 hours riding him through local villages, and if you were on him and you wanted a little canter, you could just go canter and he would do it. Like, he was that willing. And obviously that's part of his training, but also he was a very sensitive soul. Like, I remember once I was upset about, I don't know, something I was really upset, and he left his dinner bucket and came and just put his face on my cheek. And he was, we just really loved each other. We were just very, very close. And even I spoke to the stud that bred him when he passed away and said, "Oh, sadly I've lost him." And we were talking for a long time, and she said, I've bred some really good horses, but never had one quite with the character that he had, the gentleness and the compassion. And he was beautiful. So that's nice. I'm still in touch with them. Yeah. And he was just amazing. I took him to like village cream teas. People would just want to see him. I used to ride him to the pub, and because he was a fjord horse, people would stop and ask, what kind of horse is that? Because you don't see many of them. And he was unhogged as well, so he had a huge mane. And cars would stop and say, "Well, can I take a photo of that horse? It's a bit like a zebra." So yeah, he was fairly well known kind of around here. Yeah, and he lived until he was 35, which was quite a good age. Yeah.
35. Gosh, that's incredible. So you had 16 years with him, did you say?
About 15, 16, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And so your horse Rosie now then, what's she like? Tell us about.
She is lovely. She's a black and white cob, and she's got 2 walleyes, just two blue eyes. And again, she has a very kind nature. She's only 7, so she's fairly young, but apparently she's always been very, very laid back. She used to nanny some of the young horses and things where she was before, and she's always passed lorries and things without a problem. So that's the kind of quiet nature I need to be able to ride and hack out a little bit safely. I've improved a lot because I was absolutely terrified and had 2 people by the side of me and said, "I want to get off. This isn't a good idea." But luckily, I kept going, and now I'm pottering out with a friend whose horse lives at Woodville as well. So that's really nice. And I think sometimes I do have days where I watch other people on the yard jumping and things, and you do think, "Oh, I wish I could do that." And I know that's probably not for me. I'm never going to be flying over show jumps, but actually I can join in other ways. And in some ways, I think the podcast, and I'm writing some equestrian features for the Blackmore Vale magazine here, it's enabled me to actually, have a greater part in all things horse, really. So that's been really lovely.
And I think that's so key, isn't it? That everyone, focuses horse riding as the thing you do in the horse world. But actually, there are so many amazingly different things you can do. I mean, this is why I love doing what I do. Absolutely love doing what I do, because I don't want to be a professional rider. I have got absolutely no desire to be a professional rider, but I do want to work somehow in the equine industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so working with, people and hearing their stories about horses and amazing things, and watching them grow and enjoying them and supporting them in whatever it is they are doing is one element of being in the equine industry. So you don't have to be like, it's not all about riding, is it? So
no.
Tell us about, what joy you get from just being around the horses and being with them, let alone the riding. That's like the cherry on top, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I love the riding, and actually it gives me some relief from aches and pains and things like that. But what I love most is, I don't know, I think there's a sort of serenity about horses. When I sort of let Rosie out and watch her just, running around the arena, or, having a canter around the field, that I find that beautiful. There's something about horses that I personally find captivating, and I'm sure every other rider feels the same. Just to be with them, even their smell, I don't know, there's something very healing and very relaxing about being with horses, just being, not necessarily riding. So I find them a joy.
They absolutely are, aren't they? And so let's have a think then about what you want to be doing with Rosie. And when I say achieving, it doesn't have to be like goals, as in like competition goals or certain types of goals or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do you want to get out of your relationship with Rosie? What are you aiming for? What do you want?
Obviously, I'd like my ridden riding to get a little bit better, and just to feel really confident and safe. I'd love to be able to do a bit of sort of groundwork with her, and things like Mirror Me. I find that really lovely, and it would be quite fun. I suppose really the main thing I look to get out of my relationship with Rosie is to have the strength of bond that I had with Odin. I mean, we are close, but I've only had her a few months, you know, and I hope that that will come. She has the same lovely nature. And just, yeah, to have to be a team and to have some fun in what we do, really. Yeah.
And if you think about it, you had Odin for 15 years, 16, 15
Yeah.
years. That's a long time. And I often find this with people, particularly people who have bought a horse on from being a youngster, and then they have to retire them, or they can't compete them, or they lose them, or what have you. And they get a new horse, and they're going, "Oh, I just want that bond that we had. I just want that thing that we had."
The same.
Yeah. And I have to take them back to the first year or two that they had with that horse, and remind them that it didn't necessarily start that way, and that sometimes there might have been things that they had to get to know each other, or there had been struggles they had to get through. And I know that, you know, understandably, people want where they were at with that horse, but they forget
it's a journey.
The journey that they went through. Yeah. So tell us about where you feel you're at on your journey with Rosie at the moment. What's it about?
Well, I mean, we are getting better. You know, if I think back to the first time I sat on her and the yard had to really convince me to do it, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. I had two people by the side of me and I asked for a lead rein, and I was absolutely white as a ghost. I was literally terrified. And now I'm happy to go out with my friend and her horse. I do take someone with me at the side of me at the moment. I've done it without, but I still am at the moment. But, you know, when I think that I did have a little trot down the road the other day, I would never have even envisaged that would be possible the first time I sat on Rosie. So I think, you know, when I look back, you know, in 6 months' time, I think we'll be a lot more confident. And I'm hoping that we'll be going out on little hacks more freely. And yeah, I think you sometimes need to stop and look back, because I was doing that the other day and I thought, actually, we've come a long way for us, you know, when I think how terrified I was when I first sat on her. And I thought, gosh, if I'd known how hard sort of having a different horse would be, I probably would never have done it. So it's a good job that I didn't realise how hard it would be.
And I think that's the thing that is so common with so many people. We're so used to being forward focused, future focused, what we want, moving towards it. Like you say, even doing things like accountability, even saying, right, I'm going to do this thing, you know, future focus. I want to push out my comfort zone. I want to do something. That's great because it makes you grow. And like, like you say, if you realised it was going to be as hard as it was, you probably wouldn't have done it. But actually, luckily you didn't. You just said, I want that thing and went for it.
Yeah.
And we forget sometimes to just stop and look back, and not from a, I wish I could have done that.
But from a gratitude point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about gratitude for
you. I think, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm hugely grateful to have Rosie, and massively grateful for the support of the yard and from the lady who comes from the RDA to help me, usually weekly. But also I think I'm really grateful for the kind of communities that exist within the equestrian sphere. I mean, I know people bash social media and always say how negative it is, but I have found it the most supportive and most welcoming space. You know, when I was asking the likes of Natasha Baker, would you chat on my podcast? I'd only done 2 or 3. No one has obviously heard of me. I'm just me. But she was still kind enough to help out and actually messaged and said, oh, how's it going with Rosie? You know, and there've been so many people who've helped me. And again, with the book, you know, the lady that's done the illustrations isn't actually an illustrator. She's a portrait artist. She did a portrait of Odin years ago. And because I was struggling to find an illustrator that was affordable for me, I asked her, do you think you could give this a go? And she said, oh, absolutely. I'd love it. You know, I love drawing Odin. So I think, you know, I'm hugely aware of the kindness and willingness of people, you know, to give you a helping hand. And I think if I can sort of spread that forward by our little story and make a donation to the RDA, because 10% of the profits will go to them, then I'm hugely grateful to be able to do that.
I think that's gorgeous, that idea of gratitude and of paying it forwards. And, you know, you were talking there about the kindness and the support of others. And it can be quite a lonely world, the equestrian world, because even if we're in a team, we're not really in a team. I mean, I was discussing this with someone the other day. Even at the top levels, we talk about being a team sport. It's not. It's a collective sport. Individuals. We're not having to pass the ball to each other or work out what each other think. We go and do our bit as a collective, and hope that we've done well enough as a team. But it isn't a team sport in that respect, and it can be very lonely. And actually, that's exactly why I set up Eden. The Equestrian Development and Empowerment Network. It's exactly why that exists, for what you say in there. It's a very, very carefully created, supported group that gets learning so that everyone's on the same page, gets to support each other. I'm there to kind of check in and make sure everything's going, but basically leave it to them in the group, because they're just an incredible group. So I'd urge anyone who's looking for a great supportive community to consider coming into Eden, because actually it's exactly what you were talking about. It's a wonderful place to be from a support perspective. And so actually, tell us.
You often don't know that someone else is nervous, if people are off jumping and whatever. But I was chatting to someone the other day, and I was really surprised when he said, yeah, sometimes I do brick it a bit. And it's amazing that all sorts of people are maybe a bit nervous, or they're struggling with an aspect of horse care or whatever. And often people don't talk about the slightly more challenging bits. So that's been really lovely on Instagram, to find other people who are, championing your corner and maybe experiencing a bit of the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I work with riders all the way to the top, and I can tell you they have nerves, they get worried about things. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. And Pippa Funnell's very good, actually, at saying that kind of stuff as well. I think she was one of the first kind of real top-level competitors to say, I get nervous. Years ago, and people were like, what do you mean you get nervous? You don't look it. I might not look it. Yeah, exactly. So tell us what you want the future to be about for you. I know you want the podcast to get out there for people. Obviously, you want the book to do really well, and we'll tell people later on how to get hold of the book and how to be part of that. I know you've got some other fabulous little projects on the way as well.
Well, in the pipeline, but we'll see. But up to Monday, I was a fundraiser for guide dogs, so I'm used to helping out charities where I can. And I think in the future, I would like to do more of what I'm really enjoying. I'm very fortunate to have Rosie, and this whole journey of, the book and the podcast, it's been a huge learning opportunity for me, to find out what the process is of getting your book to, be a hard copy in your hand. And really to do more of what I enjoy. I think a lot of people have found that lockdown and the world we now live in has made them reassess what they want out of life. And yes, everybody needs to work and earn a daily crust, and there are chores you have to do, but actually to make sure that you find a little bit of time to do more of what you enjoy, and to focus on actually not what everyone else is doing and the things that you can't do, but to ensure that I continue to try and really focus on things that I can enjoy and things that I can do. And in an ideal world, I would love, alongside the little book, to create some exercises around image positivity, and to be able to offer those to children as well. And maybe for the book to be available to children at school, so that they can read a story where the main character does have challenges, and so that it can spread a bit of positivity about difference, or as people perceive difference.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So tell us a little bit about.
I don't know, but we'll see.
Oh, who knows? You put it out there now. You've put it out there. You've done it again.
Yeah. I need to zip my mouth, I think.
No, don't ever zip your mouth, because it's great. You put it out there and then you make it happen. And I think that's wonderful, because you're making some incredibly positive changes. So bigger picture then, what is the book and the podcast and the other future things? What's it about for you? So you want to help others, what's the real crux of it?
I think there's that, to be able to spread a bit of joy through Odin's story, and to, encourage little readers to think positively about difference and the things they could try. I think for me personally, part of the crux of doing, I've said with the podcast, was to keep myself in the saddle and make myself ride when I wanted to back out and get off, and also around maybe having a change in mindset to give things a go and try and be a little bit more confident and not be the person that says, oh, that would be amazing, but I could never do that. And to have a bit more of an attitude of, why not me?
I love
that.
But
we'll see how it goes. It's a work in progress.
No, that's cool, and you're doing great. You're doing brilliant, which is, bit by bit, these changes happen gradually. You don't suddenly have a lobotomy. No one comes in and changes your mindset. It has to come gradually through the steps that you feel are right for you, with, compassion and gentleness for you. But at the same time, my God, you can make some fast progress when you do it that way. Okay.
Well, I must admit, at the start of lockdown 1, I didn't have a podcast. The book was, some lines on an iPad. So it's been quite quick. But I've always been a little bit the sort of person quite cautious, and I would talk myself out of things. And I thought, well, actually, I can just give things a go, maybe. My ultimate dream is for all of this to transfer into the saddle, and then I canter around carefree. But that's very much a long way off at the moment.
That's okay. Help is available if you ever need it, to get over that stuff. But the point is that you are changing your mindset. You're changing, what it is that you want, and you've got such a beautiful way of doing it to help others as well. I think that's so gorgeous, that it's bigger than just you. And when you have that kind of mindset, that it's bigger than just you, like you want to help others and help yourself, that is powerful. That really is powerful stuff.
And also, I think, Odin was literally the love of my life. My whole family idolized him, and it's sort of a way, for his loveliness to continue.
That is beautiful. That's his legacy. His gift to you was to continue his legacy. Okay, I've had a comment in. It's gorgeous. Who does this sound like? Like a mirror image of my journey. We always assume we're singular when it comes to a lack of confidence. Well done, Jade. It's so hard for some to understand the trust thing. I was the same, but I've learned one step is your step, and no one can take those bonuses from you. Well, Jenny said that, but I'm stealing it. I'd love to hear more of how it's going. So we'll have to link to your socials, please, which ties us beautifully in then to saying we've heard about the book, and we've heard about your podcast, and we've heard about the things top secret things that are coming. Tell us more how people can get involved, get in touch, follow your journey, send you encouragement, share their story, whatever it is.
On Instagram, I'm at Jade Leahy with an _, and then the book is at Adventures Molly and Odin. So yeah, if you want to have a little look, then feel free to have a browse. And the podcast is called Off the Lead Rein, and I'm on my 15th episode. And I've got one coming up with Bear Hug Goods, who's also known as Stitched Equestrian Victoria. So that will be really nice for her to share her journey. That's the next one.
So we'll put the links and things in as well. And anyone listening to this back on the podcast, how can they get in touch with you? Is it through your Instagram?
Through Instagram, or I've got a website, but that's actually being revamped by a lovely lady who I met on social. And then the podcast Off the Lead Rein is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podbean. So you can just look it up. But yeah.
So Off the Lead Rein is the podcast, and Instagram, you told us, so people can write that down as they heard that. Fantastic.
Part of the thing was, when I started it, I was still very much on a lead rein, and it was about who I could encounter that would give me the confidence to get off it and keep riding.
Amazing. And it's happened. So there you go. It doesn't always have to be through the obvious means. Sometimes things work in mysterious ways. Super. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, Jade. Well done in taking yet another step to do it live this time. It was
nerve-wracking. I shan't watch it back.
Well, one day maybe you will.
Maybe.
Yeah, surely you must be getting used to the sound of your own voice by now, because you're doing.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
I know that feeling very well. Cool. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure that lots of people will buy the books for their little ones, perfect just in time for Christmas as well. And that we'll hear, no doubt, more from you. We look forward to following your progress and helping you out however we can.
Thank you very much. And your podcast is coming soon, so thank you so much for contributing.
All right, take care.
Bye.